Welcome to the Big Roofs podcast where we talk to successful roofing contractors and industry leaders about how you can build a bigger, better, more profitable roofing business. We're your hosts, John and AJ, and it is just us today. So we're going to talk through time management.
Boring, or it can be empowering. I've realized this over the past several weeks, several months. It's been difficult year for a lot of people. I hear this all over the country, but if you're having a great year, that's awesome too. Time management, though, is a super commonly discussed topic. What do you do for time management, AJ, for yourself?
What do? You're putting me on the spot.
That's right.
Well, there's a lot of things that I do. I think the most impactful thing that I do is manage a very strict Google Calendar. I live off my calendar. I don't. I'm not gonna say I never miss meetings, but I am almost always on time, and it's extremely rare that I forget about something that I have planned to do. Um, and that's because of my calendar. I keep everything on my calendar, and it kind of is. I think in many ways the calendar is the bare bones. If you're not maintaining a calendar, then how else are you going to maintain anything? I don't know. That's my viewpoint on it. I feel like that maintaining a calendar where you can look at your calendar and know what it is that you're doing that day based on your calendar is the starting point for having any control over your time. What do you
I
think?
love it. I love that. Totally true. Like even when people want to meet with me or they want to schedule with me, I will refer back, hey, I would love to meet with you. I think it's a great idea. If it's like outside of roofing specific for our roofing company, hey, please reach out to Kathleen. It's on our website. She'll schedule my calendar. And then people they may take a pause. I'm like, what? You can't just meet? Nope. I really need to actually schedule this. Otherwise, it won't happen. I jokingly, I kind of make it a little lighthearted, say, hey, if it's not on my calendar, I just won't do it. Like I won't remember it. So I need you to put it on my calendar. And so when people are emailing me or texting me, it's like, hey, just send me a calendar invite. And then we'll reschedule it. Like if I don't have my calendar in front of me, we'll reschedule it. We'll figure it out once we see the invite. I could not agree more. Google, and let's just I don't know of another calendar that's better than Google Calendar for how you can share calendars, how it integrates with everything. I have yet to see another one that is better than Google Calendar. And I think that you should all be using that just religiously for time management.
Well, Outlook calendar is pretty good now. I just kind of took a look at it the other day because I'm obviously their competitors, Google. I would say use the calendar that's connected to your email. So if you're on Office
Yep.
365, you don't try to cross calendars.
Yep.
You should use the calendar that's connected to your email. And if you're on I personally, I think we both prefer Google's suite of email and calendar. And it works phenomenally well. And Office is gonna work differently, but you can go that route. What I absolutely would not recommend doing is what I see some people do, which is like they'll just have like their iCloud calendar. Like,
Yeah. Do not use iCloud. Do not use, I mean, iCal. Do
yeah.
not use that. It does not sync up correctly. You're a disaster zone.
Or
Disaster.
worse, just skip actually using it as the standalone calendar, not connected to anything else. So there's
Yikes.
no email invites. Everything has to be manually. There's no way of sharing. You don't receive anything. So that's um yeah, but also to your point, it doesn't sync well if you try to connect it. Like you should be using same thing with this is gonna probably piss more people off. Same thing with the email app on the iPhone or on like the if you
Yeah, exact same thing. It's
it has
terrible.
so many problems, so many
Yeah.
problems. They don't update it. If you use the email app or the iCal app and you have it synced back to a Gmail or a Office 365 email address, you are missing emails. You're people think that you are ignoring them because you didn't see the email and you're missing out on calendar events. Like you are missing important pieces of your business if you're doing that. And so it's if you're using whatever one you're using, use the app that is built by that provider to manage the calendar and email.
The best thing we have the best currency that we have is not money, it is actually time. And so in the same discussion that we're having about time management, having a foundation of a Google Calendar or Outlook calendar, one that syncs up with your email, I think that we're on to something. We're writing notes right now of what's good time management. Going back a little bit, just thinking about your weekday, not your necessarily your weekend, but more work related time management. People often talk about like, their morning routine and all that stuff like that. I think that's great. I think we'll get to that. But what I view as the best time management is you're planning the night before. And that's when you're tired and you don't want to do crap. Like, make sure your calendar's up to date. Make sure there's anything that you need to add or subtract. Eat healthy during that evening. Don't watch Netflix until 1 o'clock in the morning. Like the night routine is probably more important than the morning routine because you set the stage for the next thing, which is got to go to bed, have a bed routine. Like, it just seems so simple to me, but like people just don't do it. And then they're exhausted the next day. And it's like, if you just planned better, and I have 3 young kids, we want our alone time. We want our like decompression time. Figure it out and go to bed as soon as you can. I've been going to bed way too late, just confession. Like, for me, going to bed at 11:30 is not a good idea for me because I have to get up. My kids will keep me up at night and I have to get up early. Like, there's a lot of things that doesn't make sense. Some people can do less, and we can argue back and forth about how much sleep you need. I think it really is an individual situation. So
Yeah.
first thing is have a good evening routine. What's your routine? What's your routine, AJ?
What's
We're
my
sleeping.
routine?
We're
Oh, I don't have
sleeping.
a good routine for that. Because our dev team is all over the world, so I don't get to sleep until midnight at the earliest, probably often 1 or 2 a.m. But I also, I mean, I I adjust my schedule accordingly. I usually wake up at 8 a.m. And so that I can get enough sleep. Sometimes later, if I'm up later. But I still, once I'm up, the day is planned and I jump right into work. Um, and so I get everything done. But the key is like the night before, I don't only so I think another misconception with the calendars is like, oh, the calendars is for my events with other people. But I like almost every single night I go on my calendar and all my empty space that's not already taken up by calls. And sometimes I do this further out too if I want to reserve time for tasks. I will go through and I will create events that are just me that say, work on X or work on this. Because I know that if I don't do that, that time will just get sucked away into
Yep.
whatever. I have to schedule out. It has driven everyone I've dated crazy, but like I schedule out dates, I schedule out time to spend with friends or family. All that gets scheduled in because I know that if I don't schedule it, it won't get prioritized. It'll just get eaten away by other things. So I think being religious about scheduling everything out, including just work that you're doing on your own, separate from other people, I think is so critically important. And I think there might be I think some people might do this in like a physical planner, and I think that's not the end of the world either. You could do that and kind of keep your calendar for your events with other people, but you need to be doing it somewhere. Like you need
Yeah,
to
my
be,
wife likes that. She likes to write in a calendar, I mean, a physical planner, and that's totally fine. It just
yeah,
shows like we have pens and paper. We don't, we have Google Calendar, we have Office Outlook. We have all these things. It shows that you value your time and it shows that you value other people's time. When you do this, whenever you are consistently showing like, okay, I want to make sure I don't waste time scrolling whatever app on my phone. Like, it's a really important thing to do. And when I don't do it, I feel way less productive that day. What happened to the time? And then when I do it and I execute it, then I feel so much more satisfied in that day. So like moving forward, totally understand. And I agree. There's a lot of people that maybe watch or listen that like go to bed way later than I typically do. And they need less sleep than I do. I think the biggest thing that I wrote down in my notes was like understanding your sleep needs. You can have a Whoop like a fitness tracker, all these things, Apple Watch, and it'll tell you based on your heart rate and sometimes your blood pressure. It'll just basically test your body and let you know if like you didn't get enough sleep or you did get enough sleep. And like that, those are really nice things to have. I don't have one. I'd love to have that to understand my sleep needs better. But that's a really important thing. If you go to bed at 1 o'clock and you wake up at 8 and that's perfectly fine for you, just do it, but do it consistently. Don't waste your time in the evening. The next thing I have is that one thing that I have not been struggling with that much because I haven't been trying is my nutrition. So tracking my nutrition, like I've just been embracing the donuts. And so I think another thing for time management is like if you're not fueled properly, you can't actually execute these calendar things. You can't do it because you have no energy. So like tracking your nutrition and then making sure for me when I get really busy, I just forget to eat. And then I will eat tons of terrible food in the evening time because I didn't eat consistently. I didn't track my macros. I didn't like eat enough protein basically all day. I think that's a huge thing for time management that we need to make sure we prioritize the sleep part and then the nutrition part as well.
I think that even goes back to scheduling because one of the big realizations I had a while back was I wasn't scheduling in my meals. I wasn't scheduling in my lunch. And so when you don't schedule in, you're trying to squeeze it in between two, other events throughout the day, then like the temptation just go and stop by the gas station and pick up a couple things is so high. But I started scheduling out. Most days I schedule 30 minutes, depends on the day, but I just have that time set aside. And so just knowing like, oh, that is my time to eat. It does still get squeezed out sometimes, but it protects a little bit of that time. And when you have 30 minutes, it's a little bit easier to think through, oh, let me go to Gusto and get like a nice healthy bowl there, or let me whip something up in the kitchen real quick. And like it's so much easier to do that if you feel like you have the time to do it. And then
Yep.
like you're saying,
100%.
that factors back into your energy levels.
Yep. You're able to, it's not, and this is not just about time management. Like, okay, I'm doing a task at these minutes. It's about how efficient you are during that task and how effective you are at doing that thing, whatever it is. If it's a team, another thing that I really have been convicted about is understanding like daily meetings and how and are they wasted time, are they helpful time, do we have an agenda, do we not have an agenda, can we get everything done in 15 minutes or does it need to be shorter or longer? Like time management is really important there because then as a leader I need to be able to help other people manage their time by preparing them for their day. That's the one thing I've been talking about for myself, but then also to help give each team member meaningful task that day so that they feel like they're fulfilled in their role in the company as well. Like that's a really big thing. So like it starts with leadership. We manage our own time, then we're able to
Oh,
their days and use Google Calendar, all these things. I can't control people's sleep patterns and nutrition, but like I can at least set a framework for what I do. And one thing that we haven't talked about yet, which is wild, is exercise. And this is all over the place. People love it. People hate it. They're doing 75 hard. They're running 100 miles in June. They're doing CrossFit. They're whatever it is. Do it consistently. Find out what you're good at, what you love to do, and do it consistently because it just change. I mean, I try to do it almost every single day. Exercise a lot. It shows that you're willing to suffer physically, which is a thing that I think we all need to do because we understand our vulnerability and what we need to do to continue to make ourselves better. So there's an element of suffering, an element of improvement that you're showing physically, outwardly, that you take care of your body in that way. So that's the next thing on my list for time management. Schedule the exercise in there. It could be 5:30 in the morning.
yeah.
I take my entire family at 11:30 in the morning because it's easier to do school and just do work in the morning and then do that during lunch. But whatever it is, make sure you do it consistently.
Yeah, it's definitely hard to fit in exercise if you're really busy, but it's impossible if you don't even schedule it. Like if you don't even put it on the calendar and you let other people determine whether or not you're busy enough, then yeah, of course it's not going to happen. You know, it's
Yep.
still hard to do even if it is scheduled, but if it's scheduled, at least you don't have something else conflicting, you know. So like you're taking control of it. Um how do you kind of taking a step back and looking further out, how do you plan ahead on what it is that you need to be working on and what you don't? Do you have any kind of technique or process for that in your life? Like when you're planning out your to-dos, when you're planning out what tasks are going on the calendar, how do you approach that?
So one thing that's in my office behind me is called the big ass calendar. Jesse Itzler has a big, huge calendar that's 22 feet by 3 feet, I guess. Yeah. No, 3 by 4. It's huge. And something like that, something, whatever. It's a huge, it shows every single day of the year. So that's something that you can do at the beginning of the year. Even if it's June, the middle of the year is here. It's really nice to see that big picture all in one board. So like if we're valuing time or we're focusing on time management, it gives you like many goals to work for. Like I have a lot of our date scheduled throughout the entire year. Now, do we always go on those dates? No, we do not. But we at least have a goal to hit those. Elizabeth and I have those dates during the month, and then like many vacations that we can go on, scheduling trips with family or whatever it is. I think that's one way that I schedule ahead. I focus a lot of my focus is on like those personal things, the personal things that I want to do, that I want to accomplish. Like it may be an exercise goal or a nutrition goal or something like that that I may have. But from a work perspective, I just use Google Calendar, and we're trying to hit certain revenue and profit margins each week and each month. And there are certain sales activities that I want us to all be doing as much as we can. And that it's more like task that I'm going to be focusing on than like planning out my day or certain things. If I need to shift something, like, okay, I need to go on a sales call and help somebody have it increase their close rate, or why did we not sell this? And let's have a meeting and go over what we could do to improve so that we can close this job next time. Like I'm just focusing on moving the needle as far as revenue and profit.
Yeah, that makes sense. Have you ever heard of the Eisenhower matrix?
I have not.
I might share my screen. I don't know if that's going to mess the recording up, but um, the Eisenhower matrix is a square. It's four squares making up one large square. I'm just going to share my screen real quick. So four squares here, and it falls under do, schedule, delegate, eliminate. And the
Nice.
column headings are urgent, not important, important. If it's not urgent and not important, just eliminate it. If it's urgent and important, it's under the do immediately. Not urgent but important is schedule for later. Not important, urgent is under delegate. Um, I I had known about this for a long time and wanted to use it, but I couldn't quite figure a way to implement it in a way that like worked for me day to day, because this is not necessarily the best. I think there's better to do apps out there, but I just use I use my Apple Notes for my to-do lists. I love Apple Notes. I like live out of Apple Notes. Other than my calendar, it's my second most important way of like tracking my like what I'm working on and what I'm trying to get done. Um, so I don't know if this is gonna show on the screen, but like
Yep.
so I actually have a folder in my notes called time management. And in that time management, I have three notes. I add no other notes to this folder ever. I have three notes. I have to do now, which is my like immediately do, my to do later, which is my schedule, and then my to do delegate. And I just move. I copy paste because there's not a better way to do it. I copy paste items from I whenever I think of something I need to do, I add it to the now, and then I'm constantly when I'm in the now area, I'm constantly adding items to the now. And then I'm constantly when I'm in the now area, I'm constantly adding items to the now. And then I'm constantly when I'm in the now area, I'm constantly adding items to the now. And then I'm constantly when I'm in the now area, I'm constantly adding items to the now. And then I'm constantly when I'm in the now area, I'm constantly adding items to the now. And then I'm constantly when I'm in the now area, I'm constantly adding items to the now. And then I'm constantly when I'm in the now area, I'm constantly adding items to the now. And then I'm constantly when I'm in the now area, I'm constantly adding items to the now. And then I'm constantly when I'm in the now area, I'm constantly adding items to the now. And then I'm constantly when I'm in the now area, I'm constantly adding items to the now. And then I'm constantly when I'm in the now area, I'm constantly adding items to the now. And then I'm constantly when I'm in the now area, I'm constantly adding items to the now. And then I'm constantly when I'm in the now area I'm just like, that's like my running to-do list. I look and I'm like, okay, is this something I can do later? Or is this something I can delegate? I'm just constantly asking myself that. And if it is, and I move it to one of the other ones, one of the other or the other notes. Or if it's not, then I leave it and I get it done as quickly as possible. And if it's not, if it's in that fourth category and not important, I just delete it. I used to have an eliminate, and then I was like, why am I moving things here to eliminate them? So I just started deleting them entirely. And that's how so this is how I prioritize my um like what I am working on. And so when I'm going to schedule my calendar for the next day or the next week, and like put tasks on the calendar, this is where I'm going. I'm going into that now text and I'm looking at all the to-dos and I'm like, okay, all these things need to get done ASAP. How can I put these in the next few days to get them done? And anything that I can't put in the next few days, I gotta start putting these into the other categories. I gotta push it onto somebody else's plate, or I gotta put it in there for later. So that's my way of stepping back and kind of taking a little bit more control of not just what's on the calendar, but also what's gonna make its way onto the calendar eventually.
I like that. Yeah. I have all these little black notebooks, moleskin notebooks or just whatever is cheap on Amazon. Um and I do a lot of different types of work in here, so it's not necessarily just time management. Like if I go to a conference or something, then I'll take notes and then I'll only take notes on things that I'm actually going to implement, and then I'll review them. And I have it like it's more of a novel thing that I can physically touch, and there's something I don't know visceral like just touching it and writing it. I've had a lot of actually good things happen to my business because I wrote in these little notebooks, and I found myself even today, this morning, feeling overwhelmed over the past several months, weeks, and realizing that I like the Eisenhower. I like that because I know I'm supposed to delegate and I don't do it. So today, before we even, I mean, I didn't even know we are going to talk about this today, but today I had a whole list of things, and I like to do this every morning. I've used different kind of like I've used a sales journal, which is really good, but it's you really need to be like straight only sales to use that sales journal. It's really awesome, actually. I recommend it. And then I have another one that's it has personality types. You take a quiz online and they send you the journal, and it's basically whatever type. There's like four different personality types, and whichever one you are, they send you that type of journal. And essentially there's um 5 to 10 minutes of work you do in the morning. The biggest takeaway that I got was, what are the three biggest tasks that you have to do today? Like it has to be done today, and it's there. You've written it down, you know it, you wrote it down that day, you know you have to get done, and you know you feel like you accomplished something. That's just one part of it. I've used that kind of journal as well. That's been very efficient. But just you don't have to get all fancy like that. You can use an app in your phone. You can use Google Task. You can use Apple Notes. But I think I think so glad that you said that, because what I have found is I feel the most productive whenever I write things down in the morning and then I accomplish the things I know I have to accomplish. Like I actually do check boxes, and
Yep.
there's a sense of satisfaction that you know at the end of the day, when people say, "Well, how was your day?" You did the things you're supposed to do. You probably didn't do everything. Almost, if you're a busy person, you didn't finish everything, almost certainly. And if you did, great for you. But most days, I don't finish everything.
Yeah.
I
That
think that's
feeling when
it's just a really good thing to do. I think it's a good practice, however you do it.
yeah, that feeling when you do get through that whole to-do list though. That's awesome.
I just keep adding stuff to it. It's like, it never ends.
Sometimes I do get through it. Sometimes I do get through it. That's always fun. But um cool. I think that pretty much sums it up for me. on time
Yeah.
management. I can't think of anything else that I do. I did used to, I was gonna share this. I did used to do this. This is kind of in line with your written approach. Sheet share. I used to have these sheets and I would print them off. I'd print like 50 of them off at a time and leave them on my desk. And I
Yep.
would write out the night before
This is
everything.
so similar. So similar.
Yeah, and it was good, but I found it to be a little repetitive when I was already essentially doing this on my Google Calendar. So I've gotten away from it, and I've sort of I've done other things, but I keep kind of thinking I might want to get back to it. We'll see. I
The
might.
one thing about those calendars is that a lot of times they have a follow up. So you do all the front end work at the beginning of the day, and then you accomplish those tasks or you don't, and then there's like a debrief. And to be honest, I almost never do the debrief because it's like at the end of the day I'm tired. But
Yeah,
when I do it, I'm like, oh, there's either a satisfaction or a disappointment, and you like keep yourself accountable doing that. And it doesn't have to be in a journal, but it needs to be something like, okay, well, at least I did these three things and I feel accomplished about this. Like more about like how you feel, which is really important to identify because if you don't understand like how you're feeling throughout each day and each week and each month, then you'll get years down the road feeling just beaten down. So like I think that whatever you do to journal or keep track of your time management, I feel better when I'm consistent about it and actually execute those things, create a list, execute the things on the list, and then, you know, not pat myself on the back, but just at least identify that I did those things. Not everything's perfect, but at least you did those three things or five things, whatever it was.
yeah, yeah. Makes sense. All right. Well, I think that sums it up on time management. It's the Big Roof's time management tips and tricks.
That's right. Let's write a book. Let's write one of the 1,700 books about time management.
Add another book on it. Add another book on it. All right, cool. Well, that was fun. We will wrap it up there and we'll see everybody next week.
Bye, everybody.